Bankers, lenders of Reddit, what is the most bizarre loan you have seen people apply for? I worked as a bank teller in college. My branch had a guy try to take out a $60,000 personal loan to help his girlfriend in Russia pay off border control so she could finally come join him in the US after a 2-year exclusively text-based relationship. No matter what we said, he remained firmly convinced that she existed and was in love with him and that the $30,000 he'd already sent her was money well spent. We didn't give him the loan. He closed his accounts on the spot, taking the entire $1,000 he had left with him. Not a banker, of course. I handled a fraud case where the lady took out a $6,000 personal loan in cash, I think that was the amount. This was several years ago, to send to who she thought was an 80s-era country singer who claimed to be in financial trouble. She stuck the cash in an envelope and mailed it to another state. She also sent several $1,000s worth of iTunes gift cards through the mail to him because somehow that would help him pay his bills or something. Altogether I think it was close to $20,000 she sent. Not a banker, lender, but the borrower. This was embarrassing. I had never taken out a loan in my life because I was very frugal and lived within my means. My credit card had barely any activity on it even, although all payments were paid off within the billing period. My very first loan at 25 years old was for my dog's orthopedic surgery. $5,000. She was a great dog. She had a bum leg. I wasn't going to let her die for lack of $5,000. My banker told me straight up that he would put the dog down if he were in my shoes. I started crying, that's the embarrassing part because I never cried at that time, and told him he could just duck right off, and to give me a goddamned loan because I had the collateral to cover it. I owned a house. I cried so hard that people in the outer areas started noticing. The bank manager came over, inquired as to what the problem was, and after the explanation, the loan officer was led into the back room by staff, and the bank manager approved my loan on the spot. He hugged me and apologized as I left. I accidentally dripped snot on his tie because I was such a mess. I really loved that dog. She was well worth the $5,000. She is residing in the pet cemetery in my forest now. She even has a headstone. So we had a guy come in wanting a car loan for a used diesel truck. The truck was $15,000. Unfortunately the truck had high mileage and his credit wasn't the greatest and we could only approve him for $6,000 and 15% interest. It was not a good loan and I told the customer as much. I advised finding a lower mileage, newer vehicle and waiting 6 months to repair minor credit issues in order to get a lower interest rate. He insisted on getting the truck right that very moment. He proceeded to tap into his retirement funds. Probably paid some insane penalties and taxes, paid the $9,000 down payment and signed the paperwork for the loan. 3 months later he sold the truck at a loss. I still remember the worst one. A boyfriend/girlfriend. Or maybe they were married. Whatever. They were both super young. He worked at Togo's making sandwiches. She was a barista at Starbucks. They bought a house for $450,000 using an option arm. Stated income, verified asset. They added themselves to their parents' bank accounts which made it appear as if they had seasoned money to claim as assets. Gee, I wonder who gave them that idea. We closed the loan, it met all underwriting guidelines. In reality, they could barely afford the interest-only payment of 1%. Of course that payment is only good for the first year, then it converts to one of the other 3 options, all significantly higher. And if the negam pushed the loan past 110% of the value of the house, a balloon payment would be due immediately. I guarantee you they lost that house the following year. Guaranteed. And their credit was wrecked, and their first-time home buyer status revoked forever. I'm glad I was laid off from that job. It allowed to reevaluate my morals and my life. I'll never work in that industry again. A man walked into my bank in New York City and asks for the loan officer. He tells the loan officer that he is going to China on business for 2 weeks and needs to borrow $5,000. The bank officer tells him that the bank will need some form of security for the loan, so the man hands over the keys of his new Ferrari parked on the street in front of the bank. He produces the title and everything checks out. The loan officer agrees to accept the car as collateral for the loan. The bank's president and its officers all enjoy a good laugh at the man for using a $250,000 Ferrari as collateral against a $5,000 loan. An employee of the bank then drives the Ferrari into the bank's underground garage and parks it there. 2 weeks later, the man returns, repays the $5,000 and the interest, which comes to $15.41. The loan officer says, "Sir, we are very happy to have had your business, and this transaction has worked out very nicely, but we are a little puzzled. While you were away, we checked you out and found that you are a multimillionaire. What puzzles us is, why would you bother to borrow $5,000? The man replies, "Where else in New York City can I park my car for 2 weeks for only $15.41 and expect it to be there when I return?" Maybe not bizarre, but pointless, even though it was good on him for trying. One that stood out was a single man in his 30s with no job and using Social Security benefits and disability income to qualify. In total his monthly income was less than $2,000. Something like 1.7K. I thought that was odd, so I looked at the numbers the LA proposed for his loan. The mortgage plus interest, taxes would take up more than 50% of his fixed income on this home he wanted to buy in Wisconsin. He was getting down payment assistance. However, I questioned why he was doing this when he clearly wouldn't have enough expendable income to live and buy daily necessities or save for emergencies. I'm not sure if he was ever fully approved. $500 for an Instagram influencer to market his product. 1 month later, $5,500 to pay his mortgage that he's behind on just because of some PayPal issues. Oh, plus $500 to pay an influencer because then he'll be rich. He has everything figured out, just needs a single dollar legit Instagram post to set the plan in motion. Not a banker or a lender, however, my college roommate last year was always spending insane amounts of money on stuff. 1 week a new TV and PS4, the next a car, and the next some other overly priced unneeded thing. It was insane. I asked him where'd he get all his money. He said it was from his loans. I assumed maybe it was a bit extra that he got in a school refund when you overpay your school bill with your loans/grants/scholarships, etc., albeit a bit more than I would expect. Nope. Literally took out loan to buy this stuff. I had to explain to him that you have to pay it back, it's not just free money. That was a real punch in the nards for him. How did he not know he had to pay it back? I'm not really sure. He talked about something in England where you take out loans for the purposes of school, they eventually just write it off as student expenses, which, I'm pretty positive that's not how it works. And 2. We went to school in the US. What I think he was talking about was what our study abroad roommate from England did for a lot of his expenses, like plane tickets or books, things like that, where he would keep track of his expenses while in the US and would be reimbursed by some sort of student bureau in England or something along the lines of that. Not at all similar really, but somehow I think he got the two mixed up. He was a nice guy but didn't really know how the world worked. I had to help him with a lot of stuff. Seemed like he had his parents handle a lot of stuff for him, so it was never explained to him how loans worked or anything like that, but still the fact that he thought it was free money baffled me. Former client-facing banker, I finally have stuff to contribute to an AskReddit. I have a couple weird ones. Not a new loan, credit issuance, but I once was reviewing my book and noticed a client's HELOC was nearing the end of its draw period. I did a little digging hoping to make some cash on a refinance and noticed that well over $20,000 had been drawn in the last 12 months in unusually small transaction amounts, under $20. Turns out Candy Crush can just freaking wreck your finances. I once had an older client, 75 plus, come in looking to apply for a business loan to help develop a video game. Being a closeted nerd, naturally I asked what kind of game, and there I heard the most scattered video game concepts in the world. Apparently it was inspired by Ready Player One, but honestly it just sounded like Second Life. I mentioned that and I then proceeded to have to listen to an old man talk about the weird sex stuff he experiences playing Second Life. I'm pretty sure I blacked out for a few seconds in my office from the awkwardness. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Do you have any strange loan stories? Let us know in the comments below.